Well, hello, Stacey Murphy here with Dreaming Earth, and I have with me today a very special guest, Misha Mikailian, and he is an 8 times founder and now the CEO of Geoship, and he's one of the most heart-centered CEOs that I have ever encountered. I'm really grateful that he's here. He is helping to bring something that is very physical and tangible into the construction world, which is hard to do as a startup. And so I'm really grateful that he's here to tell us the story of Geoship, which is changing the way we think about the quality of life and our well-being in our homes. So, Misha, welcome to the event.
Yes. Ow! Thank you, Stacy. So grateful to be here with everybody. Hi.
And so tell me the story. I've heard it many times, but I love hearing it. Tell me the story of how you came into the role of CEO of Geoship.
Hmm. Well, I've been an entrepreneur my whole life, like you said, and I went on a path of personal transformation that really took, early in my career, I was really like driven by my ego and proving myself, and then I really started looking at what are the levers that could really impact the world, and I really shifted my career to be devoted to building companies that are at the forefront of creating foundations for systemic change in the world. And that journey led me to start an intentional community where I got 100 acres in Nevada City, California, with 8 homes. And we built this co-op homeschool there for our kids and for our friends' kids that are on the land with us. And during COVID, a lot of our friends showed up and they wanted to, they wanted to hang out and get out of the city and be with us on the land. And we were planting trees and growing food. And I got obsessed with housing and housing technology, housing startups, wanting to put more houses on the land so we can have more friends there with us. And I came across Geoship, and what I saw was it really had a potential to make this possible for, millions of people in the world, like this dream that I was in this really blessed, privileged position to be in. And, it was the only company in the entire housing industry that's really looking at everything from first principles, where we can actually solve all of the problems simultaneously, where you can build a house that's healthy, that's carbon neutral, that's affordable, all at the same time. And so it really inspired me, and I started connecting with the founders. I became an advisor, and eventually they asked me to come lead the team in building this future. And I just went all in. It was like for me, it was like a choiceless choice. I just couldn't go to sleep at night without being just like fully called to this mission. Like, wow, it's like this is mine to do, right? It felt really potent and alive. It wasn't what I was planning on doing at this phase of my life, and I got pulled back in the startup world. So here I am. I've been having a lot of fun, and it's been an amazing journey. Great couple years. We've accomplished a lot.
I love that you said you wanted to do something foundational for systems change, and then you end up in construction, which is
Yeah, be careful what you wish for, right? So
right.
set the right intentions. Yeah, no, it's great. And I had done some like real estate investments before, but I've never, been in construction. So, I actually think some of the best startups get created by people outside of an industry because you don't have all the constraints. Like whenever we talk to people in construction, they're like, "Oh, that doesn't make sense," or "That won't be possible." And it takes people that are outside of the status quo to really dream up something that's truly different and transformational a lot of times.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. Einstein imagined riding on light beams, and then he ends up in the middle of quantum physics. So my next question is: you're sitting in this beautiful space behind you, and for those of you who don't know what geoship is, I would love from your perspective. They're looking at a geoship. You're sitting inside of a geoship. Tell us a little bit so we understand what a geoship is.
Yeah, so it's a real complete reimagining of the home. Like what would a home look like if we could build homes that are 3 times better than your average home on the market, but they're half the cost of a current entry-level home? That is truly what we're trying to get. Like our earth shot is to make the best home on earth the most affordable home on earth. And you do that through first principles thinking. So this home is geodesic. We're fulfilling on Buckminster Fuller's vision of really understanding that the geodesic dome is the most efficient, most like cost-effective, most energetically beautiful way to build a home. And we are combining it with a new breakthrough in material science with these geopolymers, our bioceramic cements, and it's made of all raw minerals. So magnesium, calcium, potassium, these are minerals that are inside your body. So we're basically replacing almost all the components of the home with our georock, and we're talking about the frames, the insulation, the exterior siding, the drywall, the flooring, the countertops, the cabinets, the cabinet doors. We're really taking all these different supply chains and converting them to georock, which is a very affordable, abundant mineral that's going to last for hundreds of years. And it's a complete reimagining of the home for first principles. This gorgeous home you see behind me at scale, we believe we're going to be able to deliver these to customers move-in ready for $169,000. So that's the future we're trying to create, and it's a more beautiful future where everyone can afford a home, where your homes are healthy, where mold doesn't grow in your homes, and they're fire resilient, they're hurricane resilient, they're earthquake resilient. They're, built for the climate era. Um, so we're super excited to be, bringing this technology to everybody.
Yeah, I love the imagination involved, and I've heard you say that the materials themselves, it's like the bones in your body and the minerals that you eat in your smoothies. It's almost like you could crush down this material, put it in your smoothie, drink it. That's how healthy this home is.
Yeah, actually, if you demolish this home, the most effective use of it would be to turn into fertilizer.
It's
Help
phenomenal.
plants grow.
Phenomenal work on so many levels. So very, very imaginative. A lot of us have dreamt about this. There's a collective dreaming for living in community in homes that are healthy, that we love to be in. What's beautiful about the design too is it's full of light. There's so many wonderful properties of this, and so many people have been dreaming about this. And for you, for Geoship to bring this into being, to make it physical, right? To go from imagination, daydreaming, a lot of people have daydreamed about this, but to bring it into physical, you've got to take some steps, take some action steps, and some big ones. And so you're doing something that nobody's ever done before, and you have experience in this territory. How do you find your next steps when you're in a territory where nobody's ever been here before? How do you imagine your next steps into being?
Yeah. I mean, for me, I mean, first you need to know you have the right dream and it's possible, so we validated all of that. We did all the early R&D and Morgan and Boss, our founders, they really, when I joined the team, that was kind of like at the final phase of that. They had built a engineering prototype, they'd done a lot of the materials R&D. So once we validated that we could actually do this is going to work. The next step was really how do we build the team that can co-imagine this future with us and actually make it a reality? And that's where we actually looked for people that had reimagined industries. We took leaders from like SpaceX and Tesla and Apple, and Rivian and Lucid, like companies that are reimagining the way we're doing things. So people that think outside the box, that want to create something different, that want to create a better world. And we found those people. We brought them on board, and then, we're off to the races together.
And so for you, I would love to talk about the CEO role a little bit too, because you go out and you basically have made a lot of this possible by connecting to a lot of investors, getting up in front of people and sharing a story in a way that moves them, that shows them that this is possible and that you have the solution, and you can be a part of this today, right? Like your role is getting out there and sharing this with people. I'm curious, a lot of people, I don't know that they would look at raising capital or some of these kind of day-to-day pieces of business as being imaginative or creative. But I believe there's a lot of creativity in there. Otherwise, like Misha does this a very specific way. Somebody else might look at it from another lens. How do you look at your role through the lens of creativity? You have challenges, and then what do you talk with people? Do you go inward? What's your process?
Yeah. It's interesting. I mean, I think I kind of take it for granted as I'm hearing you talk about it. I think I naturally just question, like, do we have to do things the way they've already been done? And what's a better way? And so I think I'm always curious and naturally in the inquiry of how can this be done in a more aligned, more congruent, more coherent way? And then I'm just open to listening. I don't think I spend a lot of time in like contemplation or inner work around it necessarily. I'm just kind of like tapped into the field. And for us, and Morgan, our founder, is very much the same way, very, very tuned in. And for us, like on the fundraising side, which you mentioned, it became really apparent to us that a lot of companies in our space fail because investors drive them to failure. So, I've heard numerous stories from other home building startups where the investors, as soon as they had a decent product, or not even a decent product, as soon as they had a prototype, the investors are like, "How many can we build next year? Let's try to build 15." And they would go build 15, but they're not ready for prime time yet. They're not ready for scale. They should be iterating on the product, going out, working on version two. And then all the engineers get so overwhelmed fixing all the problems they just caused that they don't have the time to work on version two, and then eventually they go bankrupt. And and a lot of these things get caused by the investors that are used to a sort of model of like scale really fast. And we really wanted to take a more of a steward ownership approach of this company of like, okay, we want to optimize for the greatest long-term impact we're going to have on humanity in 10, 20, 30 years. So, what decisions do we need to make today to ensure that that actually happens? And that might look like we build less homes next year, and because of that decision, we're going to be able to build more homes in 5 years, because we want to get everything right. And so instead of raising like institutional capital from investors that are kind of have like a mandate of like we need to produce returns in X amount of time, we're more connecting with individuals, high net worth individuals, retail investors. We're doing equity crowdfunding to really give access to anybody who feels deeply aligned and passionate about what we're doing, who feels they want to be part of this future. And we're inviting them to put their energy behind the company. To me, money's energy. So people have created this energy in their life, and then for them to invest in Geoship, you can invest in Geoship with as little as $500 through our equity crowdfunding campaign. They become an owner in this company, and we want to produce great wealth for the people that align with our vision and our values in the world, because we want them doing great things with that wealth. We don't want to just kind of make these big institutions bigger that are professional investing institutions. So we welcome them to play along as well if they're valued aligned. But we've really made a commitment to open up our investment opportunity to everybody and anybody who feels really aligned with this vision and the purpose behind it.
I love that. And what you said earlier is so powerful, being open to the field, that you're naturally curious. I would say that's very true of you. On a personal level, I've experienced that too. You're in a room, you're curious. Who are you? What's going on behind the scenes with you? You're always very curious. And so those qualities are the exact qualities that can create these successful new things in the world when applied. And not everybody has realized they can apply it in business the way that you have. So I love that you're sharing, like it just is intuitive to you, it's natural to you, it's the way you are. So when you ask a question into the field and you're open to how it comes back to you, and it comes back in all these different ways, right?
Yeah, and I guess I mean I've also I've been doing this for like I'm gonna date myself, but it's like more than 30 years now, and starting and running companies. And I will say there have been periods of times where I thought I had to do something a certain way, and then I would see other people do things differently, and I'd be like, oh, why did I assume that I had to do things the way that everybody else does them? So, there was some learning over time of like just through experience. And I noticed the most disruptive things in the world often took a very different path, and it wasn't obvious right up front. Like even looking at companies like Amazon or Tesla or Google or like a lot of these companies, like it wasn't really clear in the beginning, but they took a totally different first principles approach to something rather than doing the thing the way everyone else thought it should be done.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm also curious along that same line of thought is sometimes it happens in personal life where you have a daydream, you have an imagination, you're imagining something for yourself, and the way it comes back to you comes back in the most magical way possible. And you're like, whoa, I did not anticipate it that way. I'm curious in Geoship or in personal life, if there's been something that you have daydreamed, imagined, and then when it did come back around, you're like, whoa, I didn't imagine it that way. That's even better. That's more magical than I could imagine.
Yeah, I feel like my life is kind of a nonstop roller coaster of that. It's kind of like, yeah, what intentions do I want to set out there in the world, and then listening to what comes back in and following those, those signs. And um yeah, I do feel being tuned into imagination and being tuned into like an openness to like what's like the universe calling forth here, does put us in the most magical and incredible situations in life. So highly encourage it.
I love that you're like, there's so many to name that I can't name one because it's just constantly happening. I mean, that's the kind of magical life that I think everybody wants. That's really fun. I'm curious, you have an amazing wife and three kids. I've met them. They're phenomenal human beings, each one of them in their own right. I'm curious what they imagine for the future of the community that you guys are building, Geoship, their lives. What are they imagining?
Yeah. Well, it's so interesting because before I took the job at Geoship, my son told me one day he had a dream that we were going to solve homelessness and we were going to build crystal houses for homeless people, and I'm like, oh my God, that's such a beautiful dream. And I'm thinking like, and I asked him, like, you mean like the crystal, like on our altar, like over here by the fireplace? And he was like, yeah, just like that crystal. And I'm like, wow, that would cost a lot of money to build a house like out of these crystals, it costs a couple $100 just for this little thing. And I'm thinking that in my head, but I didn't have the heart to tell him, but I just told him it was a beautiful vision. And a few days later, I met Morgan, the founder of Geoship, for the first time. And in that meeting, he was like, Misha, you don't get it. We're building houses out of crystals, but like it's the most affordable, like minerals that like when they form this gorgeous crystalline structure. And he's talking about the energetics of and I'm just like, wait, what did you just say? Like we're making houses out of crystals? Like my son just said this like 2 days ago. And for me, those signs, that's kind of telling me I'm in the right place. I'm like, okay, I'm supposed to be here. Like let's double down on whatever, is being asked of me here and look behind the curtain.
Yeah. I love how tuned in everybody is when they're daydreaming. I just love that. And I know what I know about you too is you are so focused in the present moment. Like you're so present and aware and what's in front of you, your full attention. And I know that sometimes whenever I ask you about the future of Geoship, you're like, "No, Stacy, we're focused right here, right now, because you're the CEO. You got to take care of what's here and now." But I'm also curious what you imagine, like there's a future version of you down the road, and Geoship is the natural state of affairs. It's no longer the novelty item. It's kind of the standard out there in the world for millions of people. Tell me what that version of you is imagining.
Yeah, no, I'm very focused on the present,
Mhm.
and I'm also present to the future we're creating. So, we imagine a world where anybody can afford a home, and these are homes built in communities that are connected to nature, that are regenerative, that are healthy, that are built in a way to foster connections with neighbors and communities, and a world where homeownership is really easy, where, like if something goes wrong in your home, you just pull out your app and press a button and someone shows up and fixes your dishwasher an hour later and you don't even have to think about it. It's like um we want to build like housing as a platform for, regenerative action in the world. And I think our technology will afford us the opportunity to do that. We're not putting a lot of emphasis in building the pieces out for that today, because today we need to focus on like getting the homes out on the market, figuring out the cost down strategies, like well, we've already planned out the strategies, but implementing the cost down strategies to bring down the cost so this could become more affordable for a lot of people. And and then every step of the way, we'll just keep executing and keep imagining that future, recreating that future. And I've got the luxury of working with a founder, Morgan, who started Geoship, who is just an absolute incredible visionary who sees the future and he's already like living in that future in such a deep way that like in our relationship, I almost have to like double down on the present to just like really kind of focus there because like he's got the vision piece like handled. So that's kind of our dynamic where I think in the past when running companies without that counterpart, I would more hold both myself, where with us we kind of split that in a bit. So,
That's amazing. That's amazing. Any last words today that to inspire this audience?
you know, I think we're all here are all capable of creating a more beautiful world than we ever thought was possible. And there's lots of incredible people working on incredible technologies. You might have some ideas, but to just to devote your life to something bigger than yourself and something that is going to create a better future, a better world. Like life's too short to do anything else, and I just hope to really inspire people to do that. And if people here today are inspired by Geoship, they can find us on the web at geoship.is. You can get on the wait list to invest in our next crowdfunding round. You can pre-order one of these homes for only a $500 deposit. So it's really accessible to like get in line, and that way when we do ramp up production, you don't have to wait for years and years extra because there's a bunch of people that got in line in front of you. So that's super helpful for us to kind of show the world that people are committed to this vision and we have the support we need to really pull this off.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. I so appreciate you.
Thank you, Stacy. So grateful to be on. Appreciate you.